Kamala Devi, you wanted us to discuss about what are the obstacles from letting go, right? Am I
Yes.
correct?
Yes, from our last class, the 2 times before, 3 times before, there were some questions, unanswered questions, and it was about, yeah, what are the obstacles to let go and how to overcome them.
Okay, so I'll tell you a beautiful little story. I was a little young boy growing up in the mountains, and many of the people in the villages in the mountains, they don't have cars. Nobody has cars. So what they have is, like buffaloes, cows, goats, and many people have elephants to carry all the heavy load for them. So I didn't understand how there's such a big, strong, powerful animal would be captured by a little guy, you know, because the elephant is, maybe 100 times bigger than a human being. So what is the dynamic? What happened? How is it that a tiny little person that doesn't carry any weapons and just carries a small stick, it's about a 3 feet long stick, is able to control someone that is 1,000 times stronger than him? And then if you notice, look more closely, you'll find there's a small thin chain that is tied to the feet of the elephant to a small little stub on the ground. And if the elephant wants, he doesn't need to even use strength to break free from the chain because the chain is so small. So it was a very, very, for me, I didn't understand how it's impossible, but I found it to be quite fascinating. And for my whole life, years and years, I kept contemplating that image, how a simple, young, skinny person is controlling an elephant that is 1,000 times stronger and bigger than him. What is holding the elephant, when I come to a conclusion, is the emotional connection that the elephant has to the person that who owns the elephants. They're called the mahouts. The elephant that has that relationship, emotional relationship with the mahout. So it's a very interesting analysis. And that analysis, it is the emotional bond that the elephant over a period of time has become dependent and is connected to this little person. So number one reason that we are connected to our past traumas, to our past experiences, to our past habits, it is that emotion that we are connected to and that we are afraid of, fearful of. The elephant can anytime break free, but is fearful of breaking free. And so that is what holds us back, that emotional connection that we have had with that traumatic person or with that traumatic circumstances. The longer the elephant is connected to that person, the more dependent that person becomes, and it becomes its world. Just like if you hold on to a certain emotion for 20 years of your life, it'll be so hard to get free from that emotion, or say 30 years or 40 years. So this is what is the biggest glue that holds us back from letting go. So keep in mind, we have emotions and experiences and traumas that are holding since we're 5 years old, 6 years old. We're holding them for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And it is not that it doesn't want to go. It's just we have become attached to that traumatic pattern, that traumatic relationship, that emotion. And we found security in that insecure space. So this is the main reason, and one of the most powerful reasons why we cannot let go, because we have found comfort in that insecure space is very sadistic
C'est très
human
sadique.
behavior that we have. So it's extremely important to understand no one is holding you back. The only person that is holding you back is not even you. And it is not your intelligence. It is that emotion that is connected to the mind that is holding you back from letting go. So this is fundamental principle of understanding why it is so difficult to let go. If you find there's so many historical evidences that an abuser actually stays, the victim stays with the abuser because for the victim, there's only one space. The only person that knows is the abuser. And that emotion, that relationship, there is very distorted relationship that binds them together. So in our lives, we have external victims, and then our mind is continuously re-victimizing us because it's creating scenarios of helplessness. So, I mean, there's so much to talk about, holding on to something. And it's very sad. You hold on to a certain behavior, a certain fear, certain anger, certain emotions that have absolutely no reason, no intellectual foundation, yet it is completely irrational. Yet we find comfort in that space. So the second emotion side note on this is that because we don't let go and we are holding on to it because of that emotional connection, and when you analyze it, it is very much due to one's personal insecurities, such as loneliness. What will happen if I let go of this emotion of hatred and anger? I will have freedom. And how can I live with freedom? It's too much. I need to have that insecurity because you need that emotion to be occupying your existence. In America, they have done a research, sociologist, that every time a sex trafficked victim is set free from the predators and the predators goes back in jail, that 90% of the victims, they go back to the pimps, the perpetrators who are locked up for 5 years or 10 years. When they get out, the victims, they find their perpetrators again. So this trap that we have set ourselves, we're afraid of freedom.
Donc c'est un piège.
The fear of freedom, the fear of being happy, the fear of having normal, loving relationship. And this is what holds us back captive, and we are not able to let go. Imagine the emotion of hatred towards someone. When you hate someone every day, year after year, and despise them and hate them, you have a relationship with that person through hatred, a very deep relationship for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And one day, if you don't have that hatred, someone sets you free, you will freak out because now you have nothing to hate. Your time is, you have too much free time. So we just become completely freaked out. So that's why no matter how much techniques I give you, how much science I give you, we have to first deal with a fundamental fear of freedom, fear of love, fear of having meaningful, loving relationships is what holds us back from letting go. And often we have a story that we want to hold on to. Poor little Veda, he was slapped in the face. Poor me, and I've created a narrative, my struggles and my journeys, and I've created a storyline for myself. And I hold on to that storyline. And no matter what other stories are happening in my life, that storyline, it's an old storyline and I want to hold on to it. So how can you get a new story when you're holding on to an old story? We are afraid of love. We are afraid of freedom. Because if we have love in our heart, love is not capable of holding hatred and other emotions, is not capable. Love is not capable of holding anger, grudge, hatred, jealousy, animosity, all these qualities is not capable. So yoga explains a very simple method. Bhakti Yoga explains a very simple method. That if you learn the art of loving yourself and truly love yourself and cultivate that love within yourself and flood every single veins in your body with this pure love, you will never need to forgive anyone. You will never hold any grudge. You will never have any anger, no resentment, and everything is just gone.
Tu n'auras jamais
You don't
besoin.
even have to do anything about it. So this is why yoga is emphasizing so much. Please learn the art of loving yourself. Quit looking at the world, because when you look outside, as soon as you look outside, there's comparisons and competitions, and enlightenment is inside. What you see outside is darkness and ignorance. What you see inside is a beautiful light. So yoga gives a very, very simple solution to this problem. If you ask yourself, why do I want to let go of anger? Why do I want to let go of hatred? Why do I need to forgive someone? And once you ask yourself this question, why, you'll find some very, very deep, sensible, reasonable dialogue that creates an overwhelming sensation of freedom within yourself. Yeah. Then you have to ask yourself, why are you sad? If you first understand why you're sad, you'll get a lot of clarity, because your sadness comes because you had an expectation, your mind had created an expectation and a string and a chain you wanted to shackle between you and another person. There's something called unconditional love. And unconditional love means bhakti. So because you have shackled yourself to another person, that means there is a lot of expectations, and you anticipate the person will give you such and such reactions to you, and you waited on it and you are disappointed. And now that this person is trying to break free from you, they're trying to drag you with it because you're tied at the ankles. So therefore, when you go through any emotions, when you ask yourself this question, why am I grieving? Why am I sad? If your answer is because this person has left, then your question is why? That such and such person didn't want to have anything to do with you. Why? And what was it that was holding the relationship together? The chain that binds two people together is expectation. And then we chain another one. On top of that chain is anticipation. You have an expectation, and then you put another chain called anticipation, and then they just drag you, and they just drag you. So if we free ourselves from this emotions simply by asking questions and being centered in our heart, then you're always free. But we are, again, afraid of freedom. We need someone to have some expectations. Then we create another one of those chains because we're afraid of that freedom and love. So, for example, say Olivia has a boyfriend, right? She finds this most beautiful, handsome boy that has like Greek god-like sculpture. It is everything that she has ever dreamed of. So she sees this boy and she has put her eyes on this boy. Anticipation means
Mhm.
when you expect something from your friend or your husband or your children, and you anticipate based on your expectation that they will live up to your expectation. So you expect that you anticipate that they will bring you flowers, they will cook for you, they will massage your feet, they will walk with you, they will hold your hands, they will, feed you sweets, and they will buy you chocolate and all these things. This expectation is is a very broad category. And then anticipate means as soon as he comes home, you're expecting maybe he brought a flower. Simple, right? Simple example. You give your husband a designation. In the marriage certificate, it says now such and such is your husband. It is official that you have given this person a designation. You have labeled this person as a husband or a boyfriend or a wife. You have put a strong label on them. And then as a husband, you will have an expectation from a husband. He has to work hard. He has to emotionally support me. He has to help me do the dishes. He has to take me the dog to the work. And you have created an expectation because there was a designation. And then the dog is whimpering because it's hungry. And you're expecting your husband. You've anticipated that he will take care of the puppy, and he's not. And then you're disappointed. And then resentment starts. So what happens is that you have created a label for a person. You have given him the title, he's your husband. You have created an expectation. And you have anticipated that he'll live up to the title, the designation you have given him. And he doesn't live up to it. Now you're disappointed. Where has all of this happened? This has all happened by the person, one individual who has created an image and labeled the image and created expectations, anticipations, and now here you're disappointed. So it's one person that is going through all of these emotions. So
Yes.
therefore, we have created our own misery. And when you get a chance to be free from this misery, you are afraid because you want that misery again. Because as soon as the husband leaves, he goes, okay, we signed the divorce. We separate, everything is good. And then again, you're immediately thinking, I need to find another husband, another wife. You want that back. You want that shackles back on. And we do this again and again and again. We just are constantly looking to see how we can chain ourselves. We say, Bodwa, can you please shackle me? Can you please shackle me? Can you please shackle me? So this is what we are discussing today. That the importance is to understand by asking yourself the question, for example, you want to be in a relationship, you immediately ask, why do I want to be in a relationship? And if you write down the answers, you'll find very good answers. You'll say, because I want to be happy with someone else. Why? Because there is something missing in you. That is why you want someone else to be happy. Why do you want to have someone else? Because I'm lonely. Why do you want to have someone else? Because I want someone to talk to. So it is all these needs that has nothing to do with you. It is those needs of the mind and the emotions that are propelling you to create a certain framework, a certain person, and attract that energy into your life. Say, for example, someone dumped you, broke up with you, right? And then you're peaceful, and then all of a sudden you're like, I got dumped, so I'm angry. So you have anger. And so what you do, out of anger, you are looking for another relationship, and you're covering your anger, but it's channeling that energy to get into another relationship based off of anger. Because you were dropped by somebody. So because you have covered that anger, you want to get into a relationship by it's out of anger and spite, and you want to get into another relationship. So what you do is you suppress it and you put on a beautiful facade and you get into another relationship. But the true content of that relationship is anger and rage.
Mm.
And that guy, whoever that person is, or that girl, whoever that person is, today or tomorrow, he's going to have to deal with this all of a sudden, this emotion. So when you get into a relationship, because you are filled with love and you're fully happy and joyful, what you'll find is someone who is exactly that beautiful replica of that emotion. Because the quality of love is so strong in your heart, it will attract the whole world to you. You don't have to go look anywhere. Happiness is very infectious. It can infect everybody around you. So therefore, we really need to go into our heart and really, really, really operate from that space of pure love within the heart. Don't worry about forgiving anyone. Don't worry about anger and hatred. Don't worry about anything. Just fill yourself with pure love. You know, in our hearts, when we live from that space and we don't address the emotions that we have, sometimes it can get pushed down very, very deep. And then, you know, occasionally it will raise his head to come and show you that there is still some anger and some sadness in you. But only you'll be able to tell that. Because if we do meditation, then every day is a very smooth sailing, steady. Days don't go like this. If it goes like this, that means we need to come back to our heart. It's called Samatvam Yoga Muchyate. In yoga, it explains that it has to be sama, it has to be even or no major fluctuations. So I know that you are practicing a lot of yoga and meditation. Only you'll be able to know, Fabian, if there is some sadness deep inside, or is it extracting from someone else's sadness, which is also very, very common that happens. Yes, there is something called a spiritual bypass. So we have to work on two dimensions. One is Fabian, who's a functional person who has things to do on a day-to-day functional activities. And then there is Fabian, who is, you know, a spiritual being trying to attain enlightenment. And in between, there is a huge space. So as long as we're able to compartmentalize that there is a functional Fabian and there is a spiritual Fabian. So Fabian should not neglect her functional life, nor should she neglect her spiritual life. When you balance the both, that is called yoga. You never deny yourself the experiences that you will have every single day. It's completely normal. And to embrace sadness, whatever it is that comes, we are simply observing all of them, and we don't have to give in to it. So when we deny our material life and we want to hold on to something spiritual, then the material life will catch up and say, hey, Fabian, you forgot about me. You know, there is a little bit of me that's still sad and you're trying to avoid me. Come on, talk to me. What's going on? So that's why we have to deal with, on a functional material level, we have to address functional activities, but it is our mind and our heart is on a higher spiritual energy frequency. There is a very, very interesting example, metaphor that is given in the yoga text. It says, just like a married woman, if she is having an extramarital affair, then she makes sure that all her household duties are even done more diligently than ever. She doesn't neglect her marital responsibilities. So similarly, we should never neglect our day-to-day functional duties, but our heart and our mind is looking for enlightenment. So we are there, our mind is there, but functionally we are here. So there is no one can say, oh, Theodora is a loser, she did not succeed in business. No, 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 no. You have done even better. Even better. Materially makes you even more successful. So yeah, that means your functional life, you do it better.
Donc ça veut
You
dire,
never neglect your day-to-day taking care of your body, your mind. You know, taking care of functional activities is first class, even better. So when you know, when the husband comes home, everything is immaculate. But in your heart is like, you know, in this beautiful spiritual space. So you have to maintain both, huh? You have to make sure that, you know, the man that we have on the side, you know, our mind is there, but our body is here. We have to address both. Thank you for giving me a space in your heart. I'm always so grateful to each and every one of you. Namaste, everyone. Please have a good night.
Namaste.